Hello everyone. This is going to be part 2 in theme 4. It will concern the research hypotheses. We will continue with the research hypotheses. In this new presentation, we shall cover 2 important points regarding research hypotheses. First one, the importance of hypotheses, and second one, the types of the kinds of hypotheses. Regarding the importance of hypotheses, we can say that formulating a hypothesis is very crucial, is very important, is very needed for any research investigation, for any researcher to formulate his or her research hypothesis. We have said that before, that formulating research hypotheses appropriately will delimit the research study, will put the research work and the researcher on the right track. Of course, all what will be realized in the study depends on how well the researcher chooses the problem, how well the researcher raises the research question or research questions, and how well the researcher formulates the relevant, pertinent research hypotheses. Now, why a research hypothesis is important in any research investigation? Of course, it is important because first, a hypothesis helps to bridge between the problem and evidence that may solve the problem. Because in any research work, we have to think of a problem, think of a solution, and then through the research process, in order to confirm whether the solution is appropriate or not, we have to collect data, analyze data, have conclusions, have findings, find findings, or come up with findings, and then have conclusions, and this will be evidence to confirm or disconfirm the hypotheses that we have formulated so far. The second importance of a hypothesis is concerning that a hypothesis generally provides the map that guides and expedites the investigation of the researched problem. We have explained this before, that the hypothesis, if well formulated, if it is precise, if it is concise, of course, this will put the research on the right track, and the research on the right appropriate track. That means the research will be very precise, the investigation will be very precise, and if it is precise, by the end, the results will be a credible, accurate, exact. And what we will realize as results will be valid and reliable. The third importance of a hypothesis is regarding that hypothesis. A hypothesis may suggest what subjects, what tools and instruments are needed. Of course, all in the research process is linked to one another. We said that hypothesis is linked to the research question to the research problem. The problem and the solution are on two sides. They identify all what will be done in the research process regarding the design, regarding the approach, regarding the instruments and the tools, regarding the analysis procedures. This is to show that when it comes to the tools, when it comes to the design, when it comes to the approach, they are not chosen like that. They are based on the nature of the study, and the nature of the study is based on the relationship between the problem and the solution, and then the formulation of both the research questions and the research hypothesis. This is to show that everything is relevant to one another. Research is not done in a vacuum. Research is not done like that. But research is relevant to different components that make up a research study or research in a research process. Of course, also the importance of a hypothesis is that It provides the framework for drawing conclusion, and this we have explained before in the previous presentation. Now let's talk about the types of a hypothesis. We have different kinds of hypotheses. Generally, in the literature, we state four types of a hypothesis. We can formulate a hypothesis in terms of a question. Some writers said that the hypothesis may be stated as a question, but generally this is rarely done. We rarely have a hypothesis stated in the form of a question. A hypothesis can also be stated in the form of a declarative statement. It may be developed as a declarative, which can be anticipated by showing the relationship and difference between whether there is a relationship or there is a difference between the variables. A third option is that a hypothesis may be directional, which connotes an expected direction in the relationship or difference between variables. And the final type of a hypothesis is the no directional, which means that a hypothesis may be stated in the null hypothesis form, which is an assertion that no difference exists between or among the variables. This is generally for the directional and no directional hypothesis when the study is purely quantitative. When we talk about the null hypothesis, these are the four types of research hypotheses. Overall, depending on the nature of the study, depending on what to do, whether you measure, whether you test, whether you quantify, whether you look for the associations, whether you describe the correlation between the variables, whether you look for differences between variables, or you look for associations between variables, similarities between variables, or whether you describe a social phenomenon, based on this, you can choose the type of research hypothesis. So in brief, we can say that how you formulate a research hypothesis depends primarily on the nature of the research study and what to do in your research study. This is all about this presentation. Thank you very much indeed.